We've made it to the last Bionicle movie, Bionicle the Legend Reborn from 2009. This is a standalone film and a sequel to the original trilogy of movies. This is featuring the characters from a later line of Bionicle sets called the Glatorian line, meaning we missed two sets that featured the direct sequels to the Mask of Light. There were plans to make this another trilogy of films that would also be the epic conclusion to the Bionicle storyline, featuring all of the previous Toa from Mask of Light to this movie, uniting to finish off the Makuta once and for all, according to Greg Farshley. But unfortunately that didn't happen, which is a total bummer. The only snippets we got were an online comic, which I never got the chance to read. The Bionicle toy line didn't stop here though. They would be revived with the Hero Factory line of toys, featuring a bunch of animations around those heroes. Now as for the fans, every video I see on YouTube and every comment on this movie says that it's the absolute worst of the Bionicle movies, that this is the one that killed the Bionicle movie franchise, and I have to strongly disagree. This movie is not the reason the Bionicle line stopped. It stopped because LEGO canceled the toy line and decided to go in a new direction. But the question still remains, how does this movie hold up? Well, let's find out. I'm Rocko from Reamlore, and let's dive in. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe because we upload videos just like this one on our Reamlore channel. We upload a great new video every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, so be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of our uploads. We open with dramatic narration. Good. I thought I would have to burn someone's house down if a Bionicle film didn't open with dramatic narration. Turns out this dramatic narration is from Matanui himself, who destroys the island of Matanui from the first movie to stand up, showing he was a towering giant, a god. All praise Matanui, our vengeful god. Matanui is played by Michael Dorn, most famous for his roles on Star Trek. Spoilers as well, this movie is filled with top-tier talent. Turns out inside of Giant Robot God were his citizens living peaceful lives until an ever-present evil stripped his power away and enslaved his people. They don't say his name, but this was Makuta doing all of this to try and keep him asleep, I guess. While we don't see Makuta here in any capacity, there was a Makuta model designed for this, but it was made to test animation, nothing more. It seemed like our robot god was done for until part of him separated from the body, carrying his mind with it, the golden mask of life. It not only left the robot, it left the fricking planet and crash landed on a brand new one. By the way, you might be clamoring to your screens during this whole opening asking, what? Just as I did for many years. Because as I said, they skipped over some Bionicle storylines between Mask of Light and this movie. This is just a rough estimation, I'm not that well versed in the lore, but basically after they woke up Matanui, Takanuva and a bunch of other Matoran went back to live to Metro Nui, while the other Toa stayed behind. Tahu's team got captured and a new team of Toa, including Jala from the first movie, worked together to save their Toa and find Matanui's Mask of Life, which housed his soul. After that, they all went on this big adventure to find the mask, ending with said mask reunited with Matanui's giant body. And as far as we know, the 2 or 3 Toa teams are trapped within that giant body right now. Yeah, sorry if I missed things. As I said, I'm not super well versed in Bionicle lore. The storyline is all over the place with books, comics, video games, and movies depicting the stories. It's hard to keep the story straight when the medium keeps shifting like this. Inside of the giant crater, the Mask of Life, which literally has Matanui on it, creates a new body for itself. And he looks really good. Unlike the first 3 films, which were made by Miramax, this one was made by Tinseltown Toons, which would go on to make the Hero Factory films. And they are very talented. This film adapted the Bionicle designs the best, actually looking like the toys with the robotic design instead of drastically changing the models to make them more organic, which never felt right to me. They're intelligent machines, they should look like robots, like the Transformers. Matanui gets used to walking with his new body and almost steps on this adorable bug, but stops himself. The bug crawls up to the mask, and when he touches it, the bug transformed into a shield, which is handy because a scorpion monster shows up and attacks Matanui. Matanui struggles as he just got this new body, but thanks to the bug shield, he was able to stop them. Matanui picks up its severed tail before a car rolls up. Matanui asks him where the nearest city is, and the guy in the car jokes that the nearest city is about 6 feet underground. The guy in the car offers to drive him to the nearest civilization because Matanui does not want to wander around with bone hunters and Skrull active around this site. The guy explains the bug is a Scarabax before the two ride off. He also introduces himself as Metis, played by David Leisure. Matanui asks him what happened here because there are destroyed ruins everywhere, and Metis says nobody knows. Metis explains he's an Agori, peaceful villagers trying to survive, and Matanui is a Glatorian, a warrior. They arrive at Barra Magna just in time for the big match. Metis says that the leaders of the villages pit their best fighters, the Glatorian, against one another to settle a dispute and for entertainment. Yes! Pro wrestling in Bionicle, let's go! Menace introduces Motunui to Ranu, played by Aaron Shinnerman, the leader of the village. He is upset that his Glotorian, Akar, is phoning this in, saying that this is a bad sign. He explains that if a Glotorian loses, they have to be banished. What? Why? If they lose a match, isn't it easier to train them so they win next time instead of replace them? Akar, a fire Glotorian on the ground, is fighting Strack, an ice Glotorian. Akar is played by Jim Cummings, a legendary voice actor with hundreds of voice roles, notably a bunch of characters from Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse. Strack, meanwhile, is played by Jeff Bennett, who is an amazing voice actor voicing thousands of characters like Johnny Bravo, for example. The fight is pretty cool, and Motunui is impressed with how courageously Akar fights. Akar wins the battle and demands Strack's surrender. Strack does so, but it's a trick to attack Akar from behind. Motunui is furious, but the Agori say they're powerless against a Glotorian. This is when Motunui jumps in to help. Strack, however, is an experienced fighter, while Motunui learned how to walk like an hour ago, so it doesn't go well. That is until his mask transformed the scorpion tail he had gotten into a big sword. He disarms Strack and forces him to vocally surrender. Akar tries to give Motunui the shield, but Motunui says Akar fought with honor and the shield is his. Akar is more concerned that people are seeing him as irrelevant as he gets older. Later, Motunui sees how many shields Akar won, but Akar doesn't care, saying he should have packed it in a long time ago. He stayed because of duty and pride, but now that he's past his prime, he's no use to anyone. Motunui says it wasn't pointless. He fought for his people like a true Toa, but Akar doesn't recognize that name. This was kind of a soft reboot of the series, as in a Bionicle character is on a planet that doesn't have any recognizable elements. No Makuta, no Toa, nothing. Similar elements, but a brand new environment. I said a soft reboot, not an actual reboot, because a soft one is like, yeah, all that stuff in the past did happen, but we're gonna ignore it for now and act like we're starting fresh. I always prefer stuff that stays with the continuity because I want things to continue, and I don't get too upset at a soft reboot, because new fans need to jump on somewhere. Menace rolls in and tries to recruit Motunui to be a Glotorian for a village, because that's what his job is, but Motunui refuses. Akar asks what Motunui wants, and he explains he wants to go back to his homeworld off the planet. Motunui explains a powerful evil enslaved his people, and why can't he just say it's the Makuta? We all know it's him. Just then, another Glotorian enters the chamber and is super happy about the proof she has been searching for. She introduces herself as Kina, who has been saying there are other worlds out there her whole life. Kina is played by Marla Sokolov, famous for her role on Full House. I think Kina is actually the best female character in Bionicle, aside from Rudaka, of course. While I had no problem with Gali or Nokama, they always felt like the girl in the boys club. They didn't have enough time to develop their personalities. Kina is an over-energetic thrill seeker who wants to escape this awful world. She's fleshed out, which makes her more memorable when you compare her to the other girls we've seen. Akar says they can trust her as Kina gives the bug on Motunui's shoulder a name, Click. Kina says that with Motunui's help they can find a better world, and Motunui says if he can, he will bring her along. Kina explains that there is a place in her village filled with old technology that could help them. I also want to say that all of the Bionicle movies have great backgrounds. In the first movie, it was an island paradise. In the second movie, it was a massive city. In the third movie, it was more of a dark maze. And in this movie, it's like a barren wasteland. It's nice that they change up the landscape each film to make them stand out. They ride off in the morning, but someone tells the Bone Hunters where they are heading. On the car ride, Akar mentions that the Skrull and Bone Hunters are becoming more bold, seemingly knowing their every move. Motunui proposes that if an enemy knows too much, that can only mean one thing: someone is a traitor. They can't think about it right now though, as a monster called Scorpio shows up to fight them along with the Bone Hunters. Kina tries to race around the monster, but he's too fast. Good time to mention, the fights in this movie are really good. Instead of just firing energy blasts at each other, they're actually fighting and swinging their weapons around. No more beam struggles or look over here or goalie matches, just people swinging hunks of metal around at each other. It took 4 movies, but we finally got here. Motunui outsmarts the Scorpio monster and slides down the mountain, meeting up with Akar and Kina after trapping the monster. They get to Kina's village, but it's been destroyed, upsetting Motunui and probably bringing up bad memories for him. Kina thinks that she should have been here and worries about a Glotorian rookie, Gresh, learning from her. Gresh, played by Mark Famagetti, stumbles by Hurt, who explains the Skrull and Bone Hunters were working together. Akar says that's impossible since they're rival tribes, but Gresh is positive and he's proven right. The leader of the Skrulls, Tuma, is there leading a bunch of Bone Hunters. They get to the secret cavern where Motunui recognizes the walls of the place. They lay Gresh down, but they find Barracks hiding there. Barracks is a thief who has been running around taking whatever he wants and acts like a weasel. Barracks is played by James Arnold Taylor, who has voiced a ton of characters in cartoons, most famously Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars show. Kina doesn't like him, saying he's a thief, but Barrick says he's a collector and likes fixing things. They have him work on fixing Gresh, but Kina thinks he's the traitor. Yeah, sure. Motonui thinks from the temple the great beings were here, but Kina says they're more like great destroyers. This place looked like the island of Motonui before they left. Motonui says the great beings weren't responsible for this before he notices a nearby door with the symbol of the Bionicle. He opens the door, which leads to an underground bunker filled with Bionicle text. Bionicles have their own language. Because of course they do. Motonui figures this used to be a laboratory when he sees a blueprint of his former body, the one now enslaving his people. They go outside where they list off their problems and realize they're pretty screwed. Worse so because Motonui says he can't waste time here and needs to save his people. Akar stops him though, saying he's not ready to fight yet, and he will train Motonui if he stays. Akar thinks that Motonui might be able to upgrade their weapons just like with Click. Motonui tries it out and it works, upgrading all of their weapons with elemental powers related to their personalities. Akar thanks him, calling them a friend, which is something Motonui has never been called before. On their way back to warn the villages, they test out their new elemental powers, but Akar says they all need some more training without relying on their weapons. He also shows that it's important to learn an opponent's weakness and use it against them, and to read their moves before they happen. They arrive at a twin village where a Glatorian battle is about to start. Vastus, also played by James Arnold Taylor, is battling Terex, who is also played by Jeff Bennett. Akar stops the fight and tells everyone the Bone Hunters and Skrull have formed an alliance. To counter them, they need to form an alliance as well. Everyone starts to panic and say they can't win when Akar shoots fire into the sky to get their attention and explains Motonui can build up their arsenal. Motonui demonstrates this by upgrading Terex's weapon, and everyone is convinced, including the village elders. They agree to unite if the Glatorians and Motonui swear to protect them. Akar says the Glatorian will help and asks as a friend that Motonui stay, which he does, and everyone unites. Later at this glowing labyrinth, Kina follows Barracks into this place and confronts him as the traitor, but he says he was just following a man in shadows, who captures the two. Metis and Ranu say they saw the Bone Hunters carrying them away. The Glatorian want to rescue them, but the Agori point out this is what the bad guys want, to lead them away and wipe out their villages. Motonui says no one is worth sacrificing, so he offers to go after them alone as the Glatorian protect the villagers. On his way there, Motonui talks to Akar, who gives him a map to the Skrull camp while the Agori are pulling some big statue around, basically to link the villages together. At the Skrull camp, Kina says that Barrick should have stayed out of her cavern, but Barrick says it doesn't belong to her, she stole it. Kina says it meant a lot to her because it was her special place away from the torment, and they bond over the fact that Barracks wants something more from this world as well. Motonui then arrives to fight the Skrull leader, Tuma. Tuma is played by Fred Tatasciore, who is known for voicing the Hulk in those Disney Marvel cartoons. Motonui challenges Tuma to a match for the freedom of his friends, and he accepts after Motonui calls him a chicken. They fight, but Tuma is way stronger than Motonui. Thankfully, our robot god figures out Tuma's back is a weak spot. Just like Akar taught him, Motonui takes advantage of this and strikes Tuma's back, which hurts him. Eventually, Motonui lands one big strike on Tuma and knocks him out, claiming his shield and his friends. That is until he is greeted by a menacing slow clap as Metis shows up, revealing he was the traitor. Metis explains he convinced the bad guys to unite and take out the tribes because, let's face it, life on this planet isn't peachy. This way he can live a luxurious life ruling both tribes. And as Metis explains, nobody knows except the people here, and he orders his forces to kill the Glatorian. Before that could happen, Click snuck away to gather all of his friends and form a giant monster, which was actually one of the two Bionicles from the set that didn't make the movie. Motonui frees Kina and Barracks as Click's monster form disappears. The Glatorians and Agori then show up to join the battle as well, and something I realized while watching this, they never hit the tagline. Unity, duty, destiny, even though they had many opportunities to do that. Motonui chases after Metis and grabs the traitor before using his mass powers to transform Metis into what he really is, a snake, leaving him there to rot. Motonui joins up with the other Glatorian and they unite their Toa powers to take out the bad guys, forcing all of them to scatter and retreat. After the battle, all of the villages pull their parts together to form a united village led by Akar, and after they push their villages together, it reveals another giant robot like the one in the opening. Motonui says this is an empty shell, the former guardian of his people. Barracks then shows off a coin he found in the lab which depicts the giant, as well as a map on not only the coin, but the Skrull's shield. Motonui thanks his new friends for their help, and they all agree to find their way back to Motonui's world and save his people. Their quest is just beginning. Yeah, about that. The movie ends with the most awesome 2000s rock song possible, Ride by Presence. That's the end of the final Bionicle movie, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving a 5. Everyone is really strong in this movie. Usually in Bionicle films, they don't have enough time to give everyone a chance to shine, but that is not true in this. The story, I'm also giving a 5. The story is solid from start to finish. Motonui's quest to find his inner warrior and save others is handled very well. Entertainment, I'm giving a 5. It is very entertaining. The fights, as I said, are fantastic, and I normally hate the Mad Max spoofs, but this one was unique and interesting. Importance, I'm giving a 3. It's not vital you see this. Yes, it is the final Bionicle film, but it's not connected that much to the original trilogy, and it teases a sequel that never happens. So after all that, do I think this is the worst Bionicle film? No! Do I think there are any bad Bionicle films? No! They're all really good. Flawed, but good. Is this the film that killed the franchise? Absolutely not. It was cancelled because LEGO wanted to go in a new direction for these toys. The quality of the film had nothing to do with that. This movie is just as good as the previous films. Fun characters, good action, and an engaging story. Even though the traitor thing was pretty obvious after a while, the story was cool and the cast is so talented I just didn't care. It's just disappointing this was the last Bionicle movie and it ends with the cliffhanger, saying the story will continue when it won't. As I said, I got a follow-up webcomic, but come on. To sum it up for you all as best as I can, after this, Matanui, the Glatorian, and the former Toa teams all work together to fight the Makuta, who's taking over Matanui's body. Matanui possesses that fallen giant robot body we just met to help out, and they would beat Makuta once and for all. Yeah, there was a lot more that happened in between, but those were the cliff notes. I can't say for sure because I never got the chance to read the comic. It was taken down for a bit and I can't find it online. Looking back on all these films, I think Bionicle would have done better if it was a TV show instead of a series of movies. The series just works better if they have more time to build their world and develop their characters. Yeah, it would be on a cheaper budget, but Ninjago looked pretty good on a cheaper budget for its time. You could have it be like Power Rangers, where every season or every 2 seasons we get a new Toa line, that way we could rotate the cast and characters. And maybe bring back old characters for specials and for finales, maybe even uniting them all together for the big finale. Unfortunately, Bionicle ended here. There was an attempt to revive the line, but we don't talk about that. I feel like the legacy will live on, however, as myself and many other people still hold this series close to their hearts. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later.